Well, welcome back everybody to our Safari Live Gauntlet Overtime show. The Lions are running down the road at the moment. They're after something. I don't know what's going on. There's been lots of vocalizing and now they're running. Sub-adults, adult females, everybody is going down this way. So it's interesting to see. I don't know if maybe some males are here, maybe another pride, but it's very, very different behavior to what we had been seeing from the majority of the morning where they'd been quite sleepy. Now, I almost forgot to introduce myself. My name is Tristan Dixon. On camera I've got David this morning, and it's an action-packed way to kick off our morning overtime show. Now, I'm not sure, like I say, where exactly they're going or what's caused them to get up and run. They were sleeping and they were roaring, and then all of a sudden everybody just started to bolt, and you can see the sub-adults are trotting to try and catch up with the adult females. We just heard them roar a little bit further up the road, so I think that's why they're all trying to catch up. Now, Tracy, yes, they are very, very fast. When they are on a serious move like this, they can cover ground very, very quickly. The good thing for us is they're heading the right direction because they're actually heading deeper into Djuma rather than away from it like they were heading most of the morning. Now remember, we are live and interactive, so hashtag Safari Live. We want to hear from all of you. Questions, comments, anything that you may have. We'll love hearing from everybody. Now, this is the last lioness that we have. She's one of the adults in the pride. All the sub-adults have run, and we're actually really struggling to see where the rest are. On the flare you can actually see that they're way up in front of us and still trotting down the road. But what's caused them to run like this, I have absolutely no idea. We didn't hear another lion roar. We didn't see any sign of prey animals. They all just got up and just started to run as quick as possible and go forward. So I don't know what is happening, but it's interesting behavior, that's for sure. And the Nkuhuma Pride this morning did announce their presence heavily with lots of vocalizing, so I wonder if maybe another pride is in the area, or maybe even the Evoker males have decided to come investigate what they've been talking about. Now, it's not just me that's still out and about. Well, James is still driving around and he's following a very special spotted cat.
Well, following is a very strong term for what we're doing here. Tingana is not required of great following at the moment. Oh, look, that's the most he's done in 90 minutes. Welcome to this end of the overtime show, the overtime for the gauntlet. My name is James Hendry. It's marvellous to have you with us. Please do talk to us, ask us any questions you'd like to, send through any comments. It'd be great to hear from you. We're going to sit with this 12-year-old male leopard called Tingana as the dawn slowly brightens, and hope that he gets up to do something other than snooze, which is what he has been doing the whole time. I can tell you that I do not think that those Nkuhuma Pride lionesses are running for the Evoker boys. That is because I can hear lions calling to the north of us, quite a long way to the north, and if that isn't the Evoker boys calling, then I'm not sure who it could be. So very fascinating that the Nkuhumas have decided to get up and go for a morning jog, because as can be seen from Tingana here, morning jogs are not things that cats generally like to do. Aegis, a lot of rain today. Yeah, well, probably about, I'm going to say, just under a quarter of an inch. So 0.5 millimetres or so. No, less than that, actually. 5 millimetres or so. So, yeah, about a quarter of an inch or so. Less than a quarter of an inch, maybe a fifth. Unusual for this time of the year, very welcome. It will reduce the fire hazard that is inevitable after a good rainy season in August, September and October. So that's marvellous. Now, great news is that Steve, the drone captain, is out. He's without his drone, but he does have a light that he's wafting about.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a wet and wild wilderness morning here in Djuma in the Sabi Sands. My name is indeed Steve. I'm joined by Fergus on camera, and we are out in the wet African dawn. Who knows what we will find. We have come all the way around, and I see where the lions have crossed in that direction towards Tristan. We're going to come through the middle, see what else we might be able to find. Maybe we'll pick up on some of the tracks or signs of Hosana, the little chief of last night. Who knows what might materialize in this early morning. It is eerie but wonderful to be out. It's nice and cool, but let's quickly go over to Tristan.
Well, you can hear the lions are calling. Now, I don't know what's going on. Everybody is just running in all directions. There's roaring, there's impalas alarm calling. I have a funny feeling that one of our leopards maybe had made a kill and these guys heard it and raced off, and now they're all trying to find each other, and that's why we're hearing them vocalizing, because there's impalas alarm calling in this block to our left-hand side, and then there was a lot of roaring, and now everybody's racing again to try and get inside of this area. So we're going to just try and follow them. So, James Richard, indeed the Nkuhumas are a perfect way to celebrate World Lion Day, and it's World Lion Day for us now already this morning, but it will be for you guys tomorrow, well, this evening for us, but tomorrow for you guys. So the 10th of August is World Lion Day, and it's an excellent way to celebrate World Lion Day, to have lions running around, calling, and just generally being absolute chaos is the perfect way to start our morning. But what is going on? I have absolutely no idea. There's definitely impalas alarm calling everywhere as well, and just their behavior, something had to have triggered them to go from sleepy cats to cats that were running through the thickets and calling this way. So I have a funny feeling they heard something die, and that's why they're running the way that they are through these thickets, is that they may be trying to go and pilfer a kill from somebody. It's not too far now where we are from where Hosana and Tingana were yesterday, so I hope it's not Hosana made a kill and he's now going to get robbed by lions too, because, well, the poor fella has had such a tough time of late with all these different cats stealing meals from him, and it makes it quite difficult. But let's see if we can keep up with this pride. They're still moving quite quickly, and I've only got sub-adults. I don't see any sign of the females anymore. So Kendall, a lion can do about 35 miles an hour, 36 miles an hour at top speed, which is very quick. At the moment we're just ambling through the bush. We're not really going too fast anymore. They were trotting just now, which is difficult to keep up with. It doesn't look like they're moving fast, but given the way that they can walk through on straight lines, it's much easier. Here comes more of them running past me, so there's lots of them around. I can just see ghostly tawny figures coming through the thickets in all directions at the moment, so I wonder what is going on here. It's a chaotic start. Just went from this peaceful morning with the Nkuhuma pride sleeping to just absolute pandemonium in the space of seconds. I wonder where the adults are. This is all sub-adults that I've got with me at the moment. They're all over the place. Now, please do excuse the roof that we've got on. It's raining once again this morning, so it's dark and dingy and cold and wet weather, and so the roof is vitally important just to make sure that we don't have any rain on the equipment. But okay, so here we go. We've got quite a few members now of the pride in front of us. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 I can see so far. All 11 are here, so we had all 11 to start our morning. So we've just got to try and kind of catch up with them. Now you can see on the flare, much easier to actually see all of these bodies in front of us. It's a lot more difficult in the infrared, and even with our eyesight I'm struggling to see them, but on flare we can pick them up quite quickly through the grass, and you can see they're quite hot, and that's from this little bit of energy that they've exerted over the last little bit. So how many we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I think there's 2 more off to the left. There we go. There should be 2 more coming into frame now. There they come. So they're just walking in. Wonder what triggered these guys to move. Now, lions are not animals that will just expend energy for no reason and run like that. There must have been something that caused it, and it wasn't a male lion running in where they were lying down, because we would have seen that male lion run and these guys scatter in all directions. They were definitely running with purpose, and they knew where they were going. So I'm interested to see where we end up. I wonder if they didn't pick up some sort of alarm call or some sort of distress call, and they thought they'd go and investigate, and they've now lost where that is and are still struggling to find it. But very cool to see, and you can actually see then in the distance is a little bit misty and hazy, so it is going to be an interesting morning. Perfect conditions for lions to be fairly active. Good. Well, while we sit and figure out what is actually going on here and why there's just pandemonium, let's send you back across to, well, a very sleepy, sedate Tingana.
Well, he's not that sedate, everybody. You can see that he has turned over to show us his glorious back, which is slowly coming out in colour. We're not going to show you the colour just yet. It's still pretty dark out here because of the very thick blanket of cloud that sits over the Lowveld at the moment, dripping bits of rain onto us. Fascinating stuff with the lions. Well, let's just show you where Tristan is. If you look down through the trees there, you can just see a sparkling light, and that twinkling or sparkling light is probably about, I'm going to say 3 kilometres as the crow flies, maybe a little bit less than that, so slightly less than 2 miles over that way. So there's no danger to young Tingana here, to old Tingana from those lions just yet. And although there has been some movement of impala around him, one or two nyala, the scuffling of a scrub hare or two, this deeply relaxed male leopard, confident in his dominance as he goes towards his dotish, has not moved. Now, one thing I did want to chat a little bit about, we were asked a little bit earlier about whether or not he would mate again. And you know, I said he's got 2 females in his territory, and I included Kuchava, Tandi's daughter, now 4 years old, who lives down to the south of where we are. And I said she'd lost her cub, a young male, which was very sad. He was a lovely little thing. And I said that he would probably mate with her if she came into estrus again. Now, apparently she has been mating with another male, a new young male, who operates well south of Tingana's domain. And it's not unusual for females to leave their territories, but I would be sad if she fell pregnant with anyone other than the old Duke's child. It would be great to have a few more of his offspring around here. He very clearly carries strong genes, or he wouldn't have made it this far, but I suppose the same goes for the new young male. I think his name is Sibui, and he operates well to the south of Tingana's little dukedom. You can see Tingana is not enthused by anything this morning. Now, a lot of people are also asking, is he so lazy because he's so old? As you know, this is the sort of thing, you know, my father likes to have lengthy sleeps in the day these days. Well, in the afternoon, in the sun. And no, I don't think that's the case. All cats do this. His son does exactly the same thing, and his son, of course, is only 2.5 years old. So the fact that he sleeps so much has got very little to do with his age. It's got to do with the fact that he's had a good meal. He had a good meal yesterday, courtesy of his son. He's done a bit of patrolling over the night. He's actually moved a long way over the course of the night, and so he's just having a little snooze. While he does snooze, I do think that we should possibly take you to a slightly more active cat, and that active cat is sitting on the banks of the great Mara River, possibly waiting for an exhausted crossing.
Good morning and welcome everybody. This is so exciting because for, well, quite some time we've been lacking lions on the edge of the Mara River. But like Archie said, somebody got the script. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is Archie. And we're very excited to, of course, be here as we are every other morning. Remember, this is a live and interactive safari, so send through all of your questions. Now, I had a quick look at this lioness with my binoculars. And you can see we've just basically experienced the sunrise. She's just sitting there waiting now. I'm going to go ahead and say it's most likely going to be one of the Paradise Pride lionesses. As we know, they live between Main Crossing, just below Serena, and sort of meander all the way along the Mara River, right down at sort of just to the southern sides of Serena too. And they live on both sides. So they live in the triangle, but this lioness is in the Masai Mara National Reserve side. And there are lots and lots of points where they can actually cross the river. You may remember the other morning we had 6 of them, 6 lions all together, again also part of the Paradise Pride. Now unfortunately she's arrived at the wrong time though, because I haven't seen any wildebeest or any zebra gathering. There was just one herd of impala that's far away in the distance, and I don't think that that's what she's looking for. I think she's hoping that if she just lays in and amongst the thicket, a group of wildebeest or zebra, or maybe even a big topi, come past and she'll be able to catch it. That spot that she's sitting on is a position where we've seen plenty animals crossing. John, I do agree with you. Lions are noble beasts, and they're my favorite cat in Africa. I love the leopards. I love how secretive they can be. However, this incredible experience, or the incredible experience I've had with lions is amazing. And speaking of incredible experiences, Tristan is experiencing one right now.
Now, we have picked up our Niconico Pride, and we've got our lights on at the moment just because we're trying to get it into color a little bit, and we're just trying to see what's going on. It's obviously very difficult to drive around here without seeing what's happening, so we're just trying to see what's going on. There's lots of audio, lots of vocalizing, have no idea what's happened or why they've ended up running the way or what's going down. Something has caused them to go absolutely crazy. Must be, maybe there's a male around, I have no idea. I thought for a second there could have been a kill because of the impala's alarm calling, but difficult to say. Ooh, chitty chatty Meg. I think that depends on conditions. It's always it's a difficult one to know exactly how far. It depends on wind strength, depends on whether there's been moisture in the air, whether it's cold or dry and warm, because that will all affect how dense the air is and therefore how much they can smell in terms of blood. But generally when they find other carcasses that they haven't killed themselves, it's normally that they can scent the actual predator, and they follow the predator in, or they hear an alarm call, and that's how they detect it. It's very seldom that they're actually smelling blood, unless blood has spilt onto the ground, and they can then pick up the scent on the actual ground right where they're standing. Listen to her, she's just contact calling again. Now I've lost visual of most of them. I've got two behind me, and that's it. I don't see the rest of the pride at all. Just trying to listen a little bit as well. Seriously, I'm confused as to what's going on. Behavior like this in lions is generally either if they've found a kill or if there's been a male that's come in that's caused a bit of a panic, and neither of those things has happened. Could it be that there was another pride here, but we haven't seen any evidence of another pride running. The lions themselves, a lot of the back runners, so the... There you go, she's just contacting again. So, Aegis, no, that was the Niconico pride that was at the dam last night. It wasn't a different pride. We followed the tracks pretty much from there to find them this morning. So, yeah, and I know the guys did see the Niconico pride yesterday evening. That's how we knew they were going towards the dam cam. And so, it definitely was the Niconico pride there. But I don't know what has triggered this behavior. Could be another pride around. I suppose we might have had another one in the area, but there was, like I said, no vocalizing of another pride that would indicate, and where we were sitting is very far from here. We've run, I don't know, probably over a kilometer or just under a mile from where we first started, and they've bolted in this direction, and now it seems as though everybody, including them, is a little confused as to what's going on. Maybe the front-running females saw something that they went to go and interact with. John, no, a lion won't roar at a human if a human roared at it, and the reason why is because a lion will tell the difference very quickly between a normal lion call and our call. Our lungs and our capacity to make a noise is just nowhere near what a lion's is, and these guys are very clever. They know very quickly that it's not actual lions roaring. A contact call maybe, so if you made a low soft contact call, they might turn in your direction. Don't think they would respond, but they might look in your direction. If you made a big booming roar, I don't think they would even bat an eyelid, because they would know full well that that's not really a lion that's roaring, it's rather just something else. So I've never seen anybody be able to get a lion to roar by roaring at it. I've seen lions roar because of engines running, so that's quite an interesting one. Sometimes if you start an engine, they start to roar. Just listening to hear if I can hear the others responding. That's that almost desperate plea for the others to talk back. Now, the three lionesses that I haven't seen since I've been sitting here is Amber Eyes and the oldest lioness with the hip injury. Those are the two for sure that I haven't seen. I'm a little bit on the fence about the others, but there's definitely three lionesses that I don't pick up at all. Most of the sub-adults are still quite far behind, and I can see two lionesses lying behind me on the road. But other than that, I don't know where the others well, it looks like 2 lionesses. It might be 1 sub-adult and 1 lioness. So difficult to say where everybody actually is and why they're so spread out. I'm convinced that they heard something die or something like that because they ran. But what you don't see when lions hear something dying is they don't normally vocalize. They normally run in and they just try and ambush whatever it is and steal it. But this vocalizing and the way that they are talking this morning is pretty indicative normally of something being around, like another pride. Anyway, we'll sit with them. Hopefully all will reveal itself and we'll understand what's been going on. But in the meantime, while we do sit with our Nkuhuma pride and try and figure out this dynamic, let's send you across to Taylor on the river.
We're keeping a close eye on this lioness, just watching her, and she's just looking around too. I don't think she really knows what to do with herself this morning. Perhaps she's contemplating, maybe reflecting. It doesn't also look like she's maybe she's eaten. It's a bit difficult to see that she's sitting down. She definitely doesn't look like a young lioness, an older girl. But there's not much around for her at the moment, so she is going to have to put on her patience pants. But lions are incredibly talented at doing that. They will just sit and lie for hours and hours. Now, Lauren, sure, lions are incredibly powerful creatures and they can actually take down some rather large creatures. I suppose it also goes to say it depends on how many lions are hunting together at any one time. Obviously, male lions are stronger and can often bring down bigger prey on their own. For instance, what I've seen it where, okay, it was the drought, so the buffalo was a little bit sort of weakened, but down in South Africa, one male lion brought down a big buffalo bull, and I don't think it's a challenge, but they can do it quite easily. But some of the bigger prides out here will hunt giraffe, and then also in Zimbabwe, in a place called Wangi National Park, there are a pride of lions, or a lot of the lions there actually specifically hunt elephants. Now, I'm not talking about a fully grown elephant. I'm talking about an elephant that maybe a sub-adult, you know, one that's been separated for the herd. Maybe it's one that's just got lost, or perhaps it's a young bull that has been forced out of the herd and has now got to live a bit of a solitary life until he's old enough to, I suppose, go around and mate with the females. So they can bring down incredibly big prey. Out here, they like to hunt giraffe. And there's lots of young giraffe around, which make for an easy target. And I suppose a young giraffe is not a particularly difficult animal to bring down. But if mom is nearby, then they most certainly have to be careful. I'm trying to think what I've seen. I suppose the lions here bring down a lot of buffalo too.
Sorry about that very fast cut, everybody. I'm not sure what happened in the Mara, but of course it is not always easy to broadcast high-definition signals here in Africa from 2 locations, where in the Mara, of course, the gauntlet of the migration is underway. The wildebeest running the gauntlet of the river, running the gauntlet of the prides of lions and the clans of hyenas, whereas here in the Western Kruger, although it doesn't look like there's much of a gauntlet going on for Tingana the male leopard, there is. It's quite cold. That's his morning gauntlet today. And his major gauntlet, of course, is staving off the encroaching or incurrings that are happening or that are being perpetrated by young challengers to his ageing dukedom. So that's what's going on here. You can see he's deeply disturbed by the young challengers. Look at him. Look how tense he is. Look how alert and afraid. Aegis, you know, of course, of the major challenger to his realm, and that is Hukumuri. He who is known as chicken medicine, that's what his name means. A very odd name to give a leopard. It wasn't us, I promise. Aegis, he's off actually in the west, mating with Shidulu, Duchess of the West, and a possible challenger to, or possible infiltrator of the royal lineage here at Djuma, with Tandi being the end of her reign, and the fate of her young cub Tlalamba uncertain. It's possible that Shidulu's lineage may one day replace the royal lineage here on Djuma, and so they are mating, Hukumuri and Shidulu, in the western parts of the Sabi Sands, on a place called Arathusa, which is not where we can't go at the moment, but that's where they are. So it's quite exciting, because she may well have cubs, and hopefully she'll bring them to see us at some stage. So that's what's going on with the leopards over here. It's exciting times. It's uncertain times, certainly, for some, especially old ones like this fellow here. But he doesn't seem too worried by the whole thing. Oh, very nice to hear from you again, Tony Two Toes. You say Tingana has got his priorities right. I think he does, Tony. He's enjoying his morning. He's eating well, and he's perhaps going to look for Tandy and Tlalamba around here at some stage today, Tony. Yes, because, of course, he has stolen a lot of their food in the last little while, and we do think that Tandy and Tlalamba are around here somewhere. This is where Herbert and Tristan tracked them to yesterday. Now, I must excuse the pole here, which is providing us with some shelter from the inclement weather, unusually inclement August weather. Normally we'd expect sun and then howling winds. Anyway, I quite like it like this because it does mean, like I say, the fire hazard is being much reduced. Let us go back now to the very tense and very alert Nkuhuma Pride.
Well, they are very alert. I think they're still trying to figure out where everybody is at this stage. There's just ears pricked up everywhere and lots of confused stares in our Nkuhuma Pride at the moment. And I wonder what is going on. I just spoke to Rexon now, who's just joined us, and he said from camp he could hear some other lions roaring from the north. So obviously the Nkuhuma Pride is responding to those calls, and maybe it's an intruding pride that they are sending a very clear message to, that they must get out. And basically that's the gauntlet that they're running at the moment, is that they're trying to kind of balance staying safe with the Birminghams as well as not allowing other lions into their territory. Now remember, a contact call is just a low version of their roar, so it's just a soft kind of call. So that's when they're talking to each other basically, but they don't want to make it too loud that others will hear it, so they're trying to talk to each other in very close proximity. That's when you get these kind of little soft calls, and that's what we refer to as a contact call. Basically all it is to try and just communicate with the pride in the immediate vicinity rather than a big roar that all the other lions in this area could potentially hear. What they're trying to do is just soft call, soft call, soft call, and that then can try and regroup the pride as best they can. And you'll see now, unfortunately, the pole is going to come into shot. Like I say, the roof is on, and so unfortunately we've got a limited field of view because of the weather, but the pride is now up and moving, so we can try and see where they're going to go. What you can also notice there is that they have got round tummies, so they killed something last night. We don't know what, but they managed to get some sort of food last night. Everybody this morning was lying with quite round bellies, and it seems like the sub-adults got most of it because there's some very, very round and rotund sub-adult lions walking around here. You'll see the sub-adult male is actually going to come through now. He's just behind that lioness, and he's going to walk right through the opening, and you can actually see his little mane on his chest. You see it there, a little bit of darker fluff around his front leg area. Is it him? Yes, it is him. I just got to make a double sure that it was a bit dingy out here this morning, so better to just double check. But you can see, look at his belly, it's quite distended, so they've actually fed quite well during the night. I wonder what they managed to get. Lots of tracks for zebras where they had come from, and so I wonder if they didn't maybe grab themselves a small zebra or maybe even a wildebeest or something like that. Well, they're into the thickets, so let's try and keep up with them. Looks like they're going to keep going. I wonder if they haven't heard contact calls from the rest of the pride and they're going to head in that direction. We're going to try and see if we can keep up with them, but it's going to be tough in this area because it's quite dense going north of here. So I'm not quite sure how well we're going to be able to follow them. So Dash, which prides are territorially dominant in this area? So Nkuhuma Pride is the kind of dominant pride on Djuma itself, and then we've got lately with the Birmingham boys kind of moving off and the Voca males coming in. Now there's a bit of vegetation in the way, so I do apologize. We'll try and figure out a better place to stop just now, but with the Birmingham males moving southwards, it's meant that it's opened the door a little bit for the Avoca boys to come in. Now the Avoca males have been mating with two different prides quite regularly, and that means that they've sucked those prides a little bit further south of their normal terrain, and that's the Talamates and the Torchwoods. We're seeing them a little bit more than what we used to, and they are around as well. So on the northern side of Djuma, Nkuhuma Pride range is pretty much the whole of Djuma, and then on the southern side is the Styx Pride. So the Styx Pride, which has pushed a lot further south than it was a few months ago, the Styx Pride is now spending most of their time around where the Birminghams are moving south of us. So the Nkuhuma Pride is pretty much our most resident pride, but we are starting to see incursions from the Talamates and Torchwoods as the Avoca males start to mate with them. Interestingly enough, though, the Avoca boys have started to mate with the Nkuhumas too, one Nkuhuma that we know of in the form of Amber Eyes, and it doesn't surprise me that Amber Eyes is the first one to do it, and I think it's more out of her trying to protect this pride than it is out of her actually coming into an estrus cycle. I'm pretty sure she's running interference for the rest of the pride, and maybe those male lions, or if it was male lions roaring to the north of camp, I didn't hear it, so I don't know which they were, but maybe if it is male lions, that's why Amber Eyes has run in that direction, to try and just act as a buffer for the rest of the pride and allow the rest of the pride just to move off slightly and to just kind of find a bit of sanctity and not have to deal with the Avoca boys coming in, because ultimately these sub-adults are still very much at threat when it comes to those Avoca boys. Good. Well, we're going to see if the rest of the pride arrives. These lionesses look as though they're starting to relax a little bit, and so while we spend some time with them and wait for the others to come back, let's send you back across to Scott.
Hello everyone, and good morning. Hope you're having a good time with Tristan, discussing lions and what's going on in Djuma. As you can see, we have found ourselves a beautiful spot here in the Masai Mara. My name is Scott, I'm teamed up with Jean-Andre on camera. We are looking for lions. We have been looking for lions for a few hours now, and this is the area where the Sausage Tree Pride were last seen with David yesterday on the Sunset Safari, quite early on, I think before he took you guys to a cheetah. We have just seen a cheetah. It wasn't Kikenya, I think it could have been Naratoi, but we are not very interested in cheetah at the moment. We are focused on lions. So that is why we left the cheetah and continued into this area. Now, there are some topi which I find to be very reliable when it comes to spotting predators. And as you can see, there's one or two of them that are looking quite intently towards a kind of thick forested area along the edge of a kind of bit of a riverbed, and I'm wondering if they didn't see the lions disappear into those thickets before we got here. So I'm guessing that could be the case. I'm hoping these topi are in fact correct and not just a little bit confused or extra cautious due to the windy weather. So we are going to continue spending a little bit of time here to work out if there are in fact any lions, and while we do that we can send you across to Taylor, who has already found some very good.
Isn't that the most spectacular scene you have, well, ever seen? I think it is really, really pretty with all those crepuscular rays peeking through the clouds. But it's quite a gloomy morning here on the banks of the Mara River. But I think it's only going to get warmer and warmer. The sun has been really, really hot at the moment. There doesn't seem to be much difference between summer and winter here in Kenya, which was quite pleasant. I've actually managed to escape 2 winters in the last 2 years, which is, well, suits me perfectly. So once the sun eventually burns out all these clouds, I think we're going to start to get some animals coming down. Hang on, what's that up there, Archie? Can you see? Sorry, I've just seen some heads. They weren't there. A little bit to the right. There we go. Who's that? Zebra. There they are. Well, that's exciting. They were not there a minute ago. There's also some impala that you can see bouncing about every now and then. There could be more just on the other side of that hill. Now, this is, of course, one of the problems with main crossing, is that you're very restricted to see what's actually going on behind that little incline. And only once the animals move to the top of it can you start to see. So that's good. It's not a massive herd of animals. It's just a couple, but there could be some more coming on in. Of course, the migration is only just starting. Has she seen them? Well, she's turned around now. Let's see, now she's up. Where you going, girl? Yeah, she's looking lean. Come on, stretch before you go for a run. You don't want to hurt yourself. Of course, they're always prepared. Let's see what she spotted. Just trying to see if there's anything particularly close by. She may have actually seen those zebra, but they're very, very, very far away. I would say, maybe half a mile away is sort of the distance between the zebra and that lion. So, you know, with lions and leopards, they ideally need to creep up to their prey as close as they possibly can before they attempt to make a move. So she hasn't really got a chance just yet. But like I've been saying, lions are really, really good at the patience game. Now, we've got lions on the river, we've got zebra coming in. Another animal that likes to live in the water is what Steve's looking at.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Taylor. We have got the mighty hippopotamuses that we find at Chitwa Watering Hole. And these youngsters have survived the gauntlet of the night and the nkuhumas and other lions that might, you know, grab youngsters like this on their roamings in the evening. But they have made it back to the safety of the water, where they will spend the remainder of the day. Very, very cute little youngsters. They're doing a little bit of a yawn for us a moment ago, getting a little bit sleepy. You can see the adults behind are already switching off. The oxpecker doing its duty, cleaning the ticks, the parasites, the blood, the scratches that are indicative of a hippo's back. We were hoping to maybe find some more activity down by the watering hole, but due to the fact that there's been rain and moisture, it alleviates the need for a lot of animals to transition that sort of gauntlet all the way to and from the watering holes in their desperate need for daily water. They can get a lot of it off the vegetation in and around, so a lot of them won't be coming down to drink due to the fact that there's moisture all over the place. Yes, Wisteria, they do look very happy and healthy. A very happy little bunch, a little pod. And they are rather cute. The little hippos. And while they get ready for their sleep, James is with the cat, who I think has already taken a nap.
Well, he's taken a nap, he's taking a nap, and probably will continue to do so. It was a very nice rack focus there, thank you, Craig. And interestingly, this grass, which is not that abundant in this area, is the same grass that you've been looking at in the Masai Mara. That is red oat grass up there, or just red grass here. You can see why it's called red grass. It is, in fact, because it is altogether red. Good. And it is Africa's premier grazing grass. Now, I was talking about fire a little bit earlier, and that grass thrives under a little fire regime. Excuse my head in the picture there. And Tingana, of course, is not affected by what grass he's lying in, but, of course, the prey that he eats is. So, Kat, this is not a question that I can give a definitive answer to, and therefore it is a good question. Why they don't have spots on the backs of their ears, I don't really know. I think that they have the black on the ears as a following mechanism, so that they, when they're young, they can follow their mothers. And if you look at it in infrared, especially when an animal like this is moving through the grass, I think there's just, you know, obviously it loses its relevance when you're a solitary cat, but I don't think there's any other reason for it. So I'm not sure why it wouldn't be spotted in later life. Probably just isn't really. But I think it's black to help mum find cub and to help cub find mum. Same way as the lions, you would have seen with the lions, they've also got black on the back of their ears. I suppose you could say there's a bit of a spot there. There's a bit of a rip in the top too. There we go. Well, he's too peaceful to do anything right now, so let's go back to the less than peaceful Nkuhuma Pride.
Well, James, I think they've taken a leaf out of Tingana's book, because everybody's come back together now and all just flopped down into one big ball of inkahumas, except for the youngest lioness, who's just closest to us. She's lying up in the grass, just grooming herself, getting herself, I think, ready for a bit of a nap. You can see she's kind of looking around and sniffing. And beautiful individual, though. And there, you can see they definitely had a meal last night. It must have been fairly large to have filled the bellies of the whole pride. I'm not sure. I didn't see them on the dam cam last night. I just know that they were seen. But I'm not sure how empty they were. But for all of them to have slight swells on their bellies must have been a rather substantial kill. Something like an impala won't do that with the Inkahuma pride. It's not big. Well, it wouldn't be big enough to feed all of these lions. And given how big the sub-adults are, they would have hoover up an impala in minutes. So they must have got themselves something like a wildebeest or maybe a smallish zebra. And that's what they managed to feed on last night. Interestingly enough, though, whatever it was done by this morning, because they were lounging on the road when we first found them. They weren't actually at a kill site in any way, and there was no sign of any kill. Interestingly enough, what we did find was we went following the Nkumas, and they went to an area where they lay up for most of the morning, and there was a complete scene of chaos in that something got hold of what looked like a spotted eagle owl, because there were just eagle owl feathers absolutely everywhere, and what that could have been, I'm not quite sure. We saw a heat signature in front of the lions at one point, so I wonder if maybe there wasn't a serval or something that managed to grab that particular bird, because that poor bird, well, like I say, was just reduced to feathers. We're going to try and just reposition here, because the lions are all kind of ahead of us. It's quite difficult at the moment with the roof to try and get an actual angle here, because lots of branches and sticks. So Indigo, generally it depends, but most times lions can be into estrus already as early as 2 to 3 weeks back after their cubs have been killed. So even though we know Amber Eyes has been or had cubs recently and they've just disappeared, you know, she has already been seen mating, and so she could be in an estrus cycle, but I don't think so. I think she's more running interference than anything else. So I'm just going to try and just turn us slightly so David has an easier time of it. There we go. That should be good. So what we can see is that it's mostly the sub-adults that are in front of us. They're all in the middle, and then there's a few adults around them and just lying about, kind of looking around, and everybody seems very content all of a sudden. So what triggered that unusual running around roaring, I don't think we'll even know. There's even Amber Eyes peering out from behind everybody at the back there, so she's also here and just lying down, and I honestly have no idea why they would have run like that if it wasn't that there were other lions. But it's weird that they ran and then they just stopped right here, and a few of the lionesses came back, and now everybody's sleeping as though nothing actually happened. It's a very strange occurrence this morning, and I don't really have the answer to it. I thought for a second maybe the impala's alarm calling, or maybe it was the impala's alarm called and they thought maybe there was some food here that they could get to, or they heard roars in the distance and they just ran here to try and make sure that there wasn't other lions around. I don't know. Could have been another pride here as well. We don't know. Maybe they ran southwards if it was the Styx pride, or they might have run further east. Difficult to say. But what I can tell you is that everyone's tired out from their chaotic 10 minutes that they had, and you can see our young male has dropped down into the rather wet grass, and still lots of dampness around after a very rainy morning, and I think it will continue to be quite rainy today. That's the forecast anyway, and it seems as though rain is actually starting to fall once again. Right, well, from one sleepy cat, let's send you back across to James, to Tingana, who I believe is doing exactly like this male is at the moment.
I'm not sleeping. I'm awake, trying desperately to inspire Tingana to wake up, desperately trying not to clap loudly and make him sit up. That, of course, would be very unkind of me. We have moved around a bit in an attempt to see his face, but we still can't because he's deep in the grass. It depends on what's been seen when and what the update is from the day before, the day, or the update from the dam cam, for example. But we will decide based on those things what we're going to look at. So this morning, for example, when we left camp at 4 o'clock, Tristan decided he was going to go and check the western side of the reserve, because that would be most likely where the lions were. he picked them up. We decided to come and look where Hosana was yesterday. We didn't find anything there, and then we moved up into the area where Tandi and Tlalamba were yesterday, reasoning also that Tingana most likely would come down this way, and then we just got lucky. We found him on the road. So yes, we do plan where we go before we head out, but sometimes, you know, there'll be no update at all. Sometimes you'll have a very quiet day in the afternoon, for example. There'll be no cats at all, and the morning is a perfectly blank slate, and then you go out and you just kind of randomly look for a while. And it's on those mornings that, of course, the thermal drone is particularly useful. It was particularly unuseful this morning on account of the fact that it didn't even take off, and that's because of the rain. Technology and water don't tend to mix very well. So we were droneless this morning, and we got very lucky finding Tingana on the side of the road. John, last drive's take on whiskers. Do you mean the black and white whiskers? And what causes that? Is that what you mean, John? John, I've got absolutely no idea whatsoever. I do know that Steve mentioned melanin as a possible reason that one of them is black. It probably is melanin, and he mentioned the fact that perhaps that gave them rigidity, as it does in birds' feathers. So we know that birds' feathers have got melanin in them, and that those birds' feathers retain some sort of structural rigidity from that. It's possible that that is why there is melanin in the whiskers of a cat, but really, I mean, I couldn't tell you. I don't know. It's very difficult to say. When I look at myself, it's quite interesting, as I get older, of course. When I get white hairs on my body, I don't get any on my head anymore, unfortunately. They grow at twice the speed as the black ones do, and I don't know if it's the same on the cat, but I imagine that there must be some kind of structural difference, and perhaps it is melanin that is making that structural difference. I don't know. I really couldn't tell you why they should have, black whiskers and some white whiskers. I think the purpose of whiskers is also quite mysterious. Yes, we do vaguely know what they're for. Helps the animal sense where it's walking, helps them to very sensitively navigate small gaps between bushes and that sort of thing when they're on the hunt. You know, possibly has some kind of even maybe pheromonal sensory, what am I using? Pheromonal sensory purpose, but we don't really know for sure. Now, in the plains of the Masai Mara, where the red oat grass is blowing wild and free as the end of the winter comes along, one of the last to arrive are, of course, the eland.
Look who else has showed up on the scene this morning. The largest antelope in the world. We've got two of them. Hello, eland. Beautiful creatures too, aren't they? They're absolutely massive. Now, we don't have visual on that lioness anymore. She's probably hiding in the long grass somewhere. But again, these eland are quite far away from where that lioness was. So I'm not sure what's going to happen just yet. But like I said, we're going to play the patience game. I'm not sure how good I am at playing the patience game, but I'll try my absolute best. Archie and I are going to struggle to find some shade. Hey, Archie, where are we going to park ourselves to hide away? I'm looking around. There are no tall trees. I'm kind of envious of that lioness, but we'll have a little look. Let's see if we can see if she's maybe popped out again. Now, I can't see her, though. She's in there. She didn't move around to the trees. She's sort of in the grass somewhere. Now, whether she's lying flat, whether she's taking a quick nap, you know, it's very difficult to kind of say. But, you know, at one point she was quite excited and she was looking around. And I thought that she'd maybe seen the zebra. So perhaps she'll just lie and wait there. I'm also trying to figure out where exactly those eland are going to go. But they're very nervous. They're not racing down. Now, if you're wondering if a lion would run from a snake, I think adult lions typically leave snakes alone. I think they realize that they're a risk too, and if they get bitten, if it's a venomous snake, they could potentially die. However, like with children, young animals are very curious and I suppose if they see something like a snake and they've never seen a snake in their life, normally it ends up being something like a python. They'll probably try and slap it around. Let's hope it is a python and nothing like a mamba or something along those lines, or a cobra of sorts that have got quite a bit of venom. Although, if it's a young lion cub, they best be careful if it's a python, because pythons or snakes, just like the crocodiles, excuse me, in case you were wondering if it's live, it is, otherwise they would have cut this out. They will actually eat youngsters too. I mean, I've seen lots of footage of big African rock pythons eating hyenas and things like that. So they need to be careful of a snake. Let's see what else is happening with our eland. They've taken a couple steps. You can actually see the zebra now behind them. So let's see if the zebra are rallied up and maybe come trotting on down. Like I said, though, typically it'll happen a little bit later on in the day. Now these eland look like cows, and they actually both look like they're pregnant. Look at that big belly. She's got a huge belly on her. Oh yeah, and she's got very long, thin, slender horns. The males obviously get much larger in sort of size. They also go a dark green in color. Sorry, I'm just distracted. A dark gray in color as they start to get a little bit older, and their horns are also a lot thicker at the base. And not necessarily as long as the females, but definitely a lot thicker. So kind of like with the male wildebeest's horns too. That's how you can kind of tell the difference between males and females. Both animals that have got horns. Very nice though. Let's see. Yeah, they're making their way in this direction. Again, they're still a little way off, but you can see there's one that's quite keen. Perhaps she is thirsty. But we're going to keep watching and see what happens here. That might actually be a young male. I don't know. Anyways, we'll try and figure out the sexes of these eland. Off we go back to South Africa and to Tristan.
Well, good luck, Taylor. Hopefully you can figure out whether they're boys or girls. On this side of things, one of our little girls has decided she's found the perfect pillow in order to have a bit of a rest. You can see she's found a little stump that she's lying on, and isn't that the cutest picture for World Lion Day? I think it's very, very cute of her lying like that. They're all kind of tucked up together, and she's just dominating a little stump, which is providing a perfect headrest. But you can see everybody is fairly flat at the moment. Everybody is, like I say, quite tired from their little jaunt and run around. It seems as though they've sorted out whatever issue they had and figured out what they wanted to figure out. It's left us completely clueless as to why they would have run around, but that's okay, I suppose. As long as they're happy and as long as everything is all right and nobody's being attacked or anything like that, then it's all good. We didn't hear any sounds of any fighting, so there was nothing that took place or any interaction that we know of. But very cool to still have the Nkuhuma Pride back in this area again. It's been very, very nice. Dory, no, I don't think so. I mean, the rain hasn't fallen that hard, so in all likelihood it would have, you know, it might have dampened the scent a little bit, but it wouldn't have washed it away. It's been a very soft, misty kind of rain. It's still falling, actually. It's very difficult to see it, but it's almost like a mist that's coming through. And if you kind of, when we come out, you'll see that the trees themselves almost don't look quite right. It's almost as though there's a bit of haze between us and the trees, and that's the soft, misty kind of weather that's coming through. So it's not been that hard type of rain. When we first got out at about 3:30, it was raining fairly steadily, and then it's lightened up quite nicely now. It's just more mist than anything else. And so I don't think that would have washed away the other lion's scent. I'm pretty sure if any lion had urinated or lay down, these guys would have been able to pick it up. And in fact, you might find where they'd been lying, it actually freshens it up a little bit in some respects. When they've been there for a long period, or if they've urinated, it'll just make that urine where it dried just stand out a bit again. So it's not hard enough to have washed anything away. It's more just a sort of soft rain. Well, Nkuhuma Pride still sleeping, still resting. I don't think we're going to see too much more from them this morning in terms of movement, but you never know. And so while we wait, let's send you back across to Scotty D up in the Mara.
Okay, well, still no lions here, and happy to hear the Nkuhuma Pride have found a comfortable spot to spend the day. Beautiful scene here with some ellies. Again, we've just stopped to scan around. The beauty of this area compared to Djuma is that you can see for very, very far. So using the old binoculars can often help you find what you're looking for. Very good. Now, we're not too sure if the sausage tree pride would have kind of moved back into its general territory. That's where they were heading yesterday, and also whether or not they possibly have chased the Owino pride also back into their territory. So both prides of lion that we are following at the moment kind of moved out of their ordinary territory to get to the migrating herds, at least the first herds that arrived. But now that some of the herds have moved deeper into their territory, or their kind of normal territories, I'm wondering if they haven't headed back, which could be the case. The tricky thing is, this area that we're looking into now, there's probably about 5 miles by 5 miles without a road in it, which makes searching tricky, because we do not have a helicopter yet, sadly. I think
Craig. Sorry about that, not sure what happened there. Here we are, still with Tingana. You can see frenetic activity going on. I think there's an insect walking about on a piece of grass not too far from his ear. It could approach him at any stage and nobody knows what will happen then. Phew. Or, just zoom in there, Craig. There's a drop of water, you see that? That might drop onto his face and result, possibly, in his blinking. That is his current gauntlet, everybody, whether or not that drop of water will hit him in the nose. I know I'm being sarcastic, but it is important that we spend much time with these cats because it's how we learn about them. We're not learning a great deal about Tingana right now, other than the fact that, well, I suppose we could watch his stomach slowly getting slightly thinner as he digests the food he stole from Hosana yesterday. Interestingly, that's one of Hosana's gauntlets, I suppose, at the moment, is his father's thievery. Karen, yes, the lions are probably about 2 miles away as the crow flies, not far from here. But they are much too far away to cause any sort of threat to Tingana at this stage, so no, he's absolutely fine. Very comfortable where he is, not worried about anything at all, as you can see. And we haven't seen anything else come past here as the day has slowly brightened around us. The impala we saw at 4:15 this morning have disappeared. There haven't been any nyala. Very quiet from a bird point of view as well, and that's probably because of the weather. Inclement. It is supposed to clear sometime this afternoon, which will be something of a relief to those of us who are driving this afternoon. Going out in the cold and blusteriness of the morning is kind of expected, but in the afternoon it's very disappointing always. It's always nice to go out with a sunny blue sky above your heads, especially in August. It's a very nice time of the year here, expectant as it is of the coming new life of spring, which will be hastened, of course, by that drop of water that you can see over there, about to drop onto Tingana's nose. Now, I think we probably had about 1/5 of an inch of water today, as I said, 0.5 millimeters, no, 5 millimeters or so. We'll wait here a little bit longer and see if that drop does hit his head. If he does sit up because it hits his nose, we'll be sure to come back. But let's go back to the lions for the last little while.
Well, James, I wish you luck on watching your drop. I know a few months ago James was giving me trouble for watching a drop fall and entertaining myself, and now he finds himself in the same situation, so it's quite funny to think about. But anyway, we still, like I say, are watching very sleepy lions. Nobody has even twitched or moved and done a single thing in the last few minutes. In fact, it's all been quite sedate, which has been quite nice actually after the chaos that started. It's been cool to just sit and hang out with the Nkuma Pride again this morning. But another action-packed hour, that's for sure. You seem to be getting a lot of these of late. We've had some crazy sightings over the past few weeks, and long may they continue. It's been really good to have so many of our characters around and so many cats that have been very active in the early mornings. It's been absolutely wonderful. So it's been very good to have that. It's always nice to see members of our Mara team as well, and hopefully Taylor has figured out her conundrum with her eland and can report back to us at a later stage. It would be ideal if she did, because I'm quite confused as to how she doesn't know. But anyway, from all of us, it's been an absolute pleasure. Hopefully you've enjoyed this morning, and we'll see you all on the Sunset Safari.